Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto activates a strange jutsu by accident and becomes the new master of the Omnitrix Naruto x Harem movie. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, Ninja Batmaster, subscribe if you enjoy the video, let's begin the story. Master of the Omnitrix. Naruto was dead tired. He lay there on the grass near a small cabin in the forest around the Leaf Village. He'd just gotten the shadow clone down and had a huge grin on his face. Yes. He exclaimed. Now I can pass and become a real ninja. Then it's on up to Hokage, believe it. He said smiling. He then sat up. He looked at the still unrolled scroll of ceiling. If one makes me a genin, then maybe it will make me a chunin, or at least a higher genin. Naruto reasoned. Naruto wasn't as stupid as his mask made him appear, but he was desperate for recognition and acceptance, so his logical mind had stopped working when Mizuki had offered this extra credit genin exam. Naruto went back to the scroll and looked through it. Most of what he saw, he didn't understand. Then, he saw something. It looked like a black circle with the kanji for all in it. Naruto read the notes around the seal. The power of the stars and beyond lies within, but it is not a tool of war. It is the key to understanding others and to protect what is precious to you. Power is meaningless without precious people. If you seek to conquer the stars, leave this seal be, but if you wish to find your place among them, release the power within. Naruto thought about what the words on the scroll had told him. He wanted power, but partly just to be noticed. He knew he wanted to be Hokage, and that meant protecting the village, but besides the old man and the ramen chef and his daughter, he had no other precious people. Was there a minimum for it to count? As he pondered these things, he looked up to the sky. My place up there, huh? He looked back at the seal, and his eyes hardened with determination. He bit his thumb and smeared it across the seal. It glowed a bit before a poof of smoke erupted and a black sphere was left sitting on the scroll. Naruto reached out to touch it, but it opened up with a slight hiss and something leapt out and grabbed onto Naruto's left arm. It looked like a black blob at first. He shot up and waved his arm around in shock. When he didn't feel any pain, he looked at the blob. It was reforming around his left forearm. When it settled, it was a long black bracer that covered his arm from his wrist to his elbow and had a small triangular part stretching from his wrist up the back of his hand. It had a raised circle with a sort of Hercules-shaped design on it in white, since the rest of the thing was black. Think Ben's Omnitrix when he got sucked into his favorite Videgum. Naruto looked at it for a minute and just as he was about to touch it with his right hand, the area in the circle glowed a dark green and he blacked out. When Naruto awoke, he stood up and looked around. He was in what looked like a huge courtroom. It was dark as night, but he swore he could hear movement. Then, bright lights came on before him. As his vision cleared, he was stunned speechless. Sitting behind a raised council table were the most amazing, terrifying, and freaky looking things he'd ever seen. One of the things, he looked like a walking humanoid piece of red charcoal, spoke. Greetings, boy. We, the High 10 of the Omnitrix, welcome you. The inflamed man thing said. Naruto stood nervously. What do you mean? Who are you, and what's the Omnitrix? The fireman thing chuckled. Oh, of course. He then motioned for another of the things to come forward. This one was a small gray creature that seemed very much like a man-frog hybrid. Gray matter, could you enlighten the boy and keep it simple? The fireman thing said. Of course, Heatlist. The little creature, who Naruto now knew was called Gray Matter, stood on the edge of the council table and looked at Naruto. My boy, we are a collection of different beings from beyond your world. I suppose you could say we are from beyond the stars. I, like my fellow Omnitrix inhabitants, am an alien with my own abilities and weaknesses. The Omnitrix was created by one of my kind, a man named Asmath. He created the Omnitrix to be a tool to help understand all beings in the universe by making whoever wore it able to walk a mile in another man's shoes, so to speak. The last wielder of the Omnitrix died about 2 or 3 millennia ago. He sent his Omnitrix out into the stars in hopes of finding a new master of it that would use it, as he had, to protect and heal others. We of the High 10 were the first 10 alien forms he could take. I will list us off by the names he gave us. There's Heatlist, the fire being over there. Ripjaws, the fish creature. Stinkfly, the insect-looking one. Myself, Gray Matter, the super genius. Upgrade, the black and green blob of living metal. Wildmet, the orange-furred dog creature. XLR8, the reptilian-looking creature with a striped tail and spiked back skull. Diamond Head, the green crystal humanoid. Harem, the large red-skinned humanoid with 4 arms. And finally, Ghostriak, the ghost-like creature. Naruto could only marvel at these strange, yet powerful-looking creatures. Each of them either waved or nodded at him when Gray Matter spoke their names. Naruto looked back at Gray Matter as he remembered something. You said that you were in the High 10, so does that mean there are more of you? Gray Matter blinked and then laughed. Naruto started to feel like he was being ridiculed for making a mistake as all the others of the high 10 started to chuckle. Gray Matter calmed down and spoke. I'm sorry, it's just that the last master of the Omnitrix wasn't nearly so observant. It's very refreshing. Naruto felt better at that. So they aren't making fun of me. He thought. Yes boy, there are many more of us here, but since we have the most experience, we were elected as high 10. Then Gray Matter thought of something. You know, I've told you all our names, but you haven't introduced yourself. Naruto blushed a little and looked sheepish. Oh, sorry. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I'm going to be the greatest Hokage and ninja of the Hidden Leaf Village. The 10 looked at each other, then Ripjaw spoke. What is Hokage? And why do you wish to be one? Naruto was about to answer when Gostriak spoke up. Rather than have him explain, why don't we have a look through his memories? The other council members agreed and Gray Matter looked at Naruto. Naruto, if you agree, may we? Naruto thought about it and if they were now a part of him, they deserved to know about him. He sighed. Fine, but you may not like what you see. He said in a defeated tone. The high 10 seemed confused by this but looked over to Gostriak as he waved his hand and a circular screen came into being and showed them Naruto's life. The results were as follows. Willdmit growled menacingly, Gray Matter turned red with anger, Heatless flames shot up a couple of feet, Ripjaw's claws dug into the table, Diamond Head clenched his fist so hard a part of his palm cracked, XLR8 slammed his tail down in anger, Upgrade's metal skin seemed to writhe up and down, Stinkfly's wings beat and twitched while he hissed, Harem slammed all 4 of his arms down on the table, nearly breaking it and Gostriak's black and white tentacles started to squirm. Then writhe around and were poking out of various openings. They were pissed off. When the final scene was done, the one just before finding the Omnitrix, the screen disappeared. All was quiet until Harem spoke. Those monsters. How could they treat a child like that? No one answered until Gostriak spoke. I think I know. That caught the high 10's and Naruto's attention. Really? Naruto asked. Yes, I listened to what they called you and have done a full body search while I was watching that travesty. It seems there is another presence within you besides your own and us. What do you mean? Diamond Head asked. Naruto too was waiting on edge for the answer. From what I remember from myths and legends, demons can only be killed by other demons, whole beings, demon weapons, and holy weapons. This 4th Hokage couldn't have killed the Kyuubi. But perhaps he could seal it away. Gostriak said with a sympathetic look at Naruto. That's when it hit him. Naruto remembered all the hateful glares, the beatings, the names they threw at him, along with the rocks and sticks. So I'm the demon? Naruto asked with tears rolling down his face. No. Stated Ghost Freak. Naruto looked up at him in confusion. Naruto, we are technically sealed in the Omnitrix and you will be able to take our forms and maybe a bit of our personalities, but you will be you and we will be us. The Kyuubi was sealed into you, not fused. From what my scans of your body and the seal have observed, the seal is converting the fox's chakra into yours and using it to speed up your healing abilities. Naruto thought about it and it made perfect sense. After a few more minutes of silence and contemplation, Naruto stood and wiped away his tears and looked at the high 10 with a look of determination. Alright. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I'm going to be Hokage someday and if anyone thinks I'm the fox and not me, then I'll prove them wrong and rub it in their faces. He said with a smirk. The high 10 members smirked as well. Very well, Naruto. Heatless said as he rose up. The other 9 rose up as well. We, the high 10 of the Omnitrix, pledge our powers to you. Use them well, future Hokage and master of the Omnitrix. Then, Naruto blacked out again. He woke up to see he was still beside the scroll. He sat up and rolled up the scroll. When it was all packed up, he looked at his left arm and saw that the Omnitrix circle was glowing green and he watched as the Hergless designs merged together to form a diamond and shadow images of all the high 10 were cycled through before it let out a beeping noise and made a locking sound. Naruto now had the power of the Omnitrix at his command. It was several minutes later that Iruka found Naruto. It went like it did originally. Naruto kept his jumpsuit sleeve over the Omnitrix and played stupid about Kyuubi so no one would know about his new powers. After Iruka had given Naruto his headband, they took the scroll of sealing back to the Hokage. After he congratulated both of them and told them they'd be paid for a rank mission, Naruto asked the old man if he could talk to him in private. Sarutobi agreed and Iruka left. When they were alone, Naruto sat down in the chair across from the Hokage and spoke. I have a feeling you know about the other thing I got from the scroll, old man. Sarutobi nodded. Yes, with my crystal ball I can see any one place I want if I can find it. I saw you master the shadow clone and then activated that mysterious seal. I'd never seen it before and neither had the 4th. It just appeared one day and we could never get it to unseal. So Naruto, what is that thing attached to your arm? Naruto sighed. He knew he could trust the old man. Alright, I'll tell you, but this must be kept a secret, so could you ask Anbu-san to leave? Sarutobi looked surprised, as did the Anbu. How had he detected them? Sarutobi waved his hand and the two masked ninjas left. When they did, Naruto requested that the old man put up his privacy. He complied, and when he sat back down in his chair, he looked at Naruto while leaning over his desk slightly. Now, please begin. Naruto nodded and told him everything. He told him about Mizuki, about learning shadow clones, and about the Omnitrix. Sarutobi was stunned. Naruto, along with the fox, had an untold number of alien creatures in him. Creatures that had strange powers and that he could become at will. When Sarutobi voiced his thoughts, Naruto shook his head. No. Eventually I'll be able to, but I have to follow the levels of mastery first. Gostfriak told me that I would have to get through each level before I become a true master. The first level is where I can become one alien at a time, but only for a limited time before it times out and I can't use it again for a little while. The second level is when I master all the high tens forms and powers. Then I'll be allowed new aliens to become, and my time in their forms will be much longer, but still only one at a time, and it will still take a while to do it again after it times out. The third level is DNA absorption. I'll be able to absorb DNA from new aliens or creatures the Omnitrix has never seen before that aren't native to our world. The fourth and final level will be the master control level. That is where I'll be allowed to change from one alien to another with no time limit. This will be the strongest power the Omnitrix can give. But, like I said, it will take a lot of hard work to get used to each individual alien form and prove myself worthy to go up a level. I haven't even gotten the time to do my first change yet. Sarutobi smiled. This Omnitrix worked like the Sharingan, but for form and power, not just also. The fact that Naruto would have to work for the power also made Sarutobi happy. If you learn, you're stronger by a little. If you master it, you're stronger by noticeably more. Well Naruto, I must say that this is quite a pleasant surprise. I'll have to take your new powers into consideration when I assign you your team and sensei. Before you go, I would like to tell you that there is a secluded training ground called the Forest of Death. It is large enough so that you could practice without being detected. Also, with this new skill, do you think it will be passed down in any way to your children? The old man asked. Well, you can't go around changing DNA all the time and not expect some side effects. Naruto looked thoughtful. Well, the Omnitrix, from what Grey Matter told me, is bioorganic, so it can replicate, but it will be a copy and only have the alien forms I put into it. Naruto answered. Before Iruka found him, Grey Matter and Gostfriak had sent mental information to him to help with understanding how to use and not break or wreck the Omnitrix, along with a few thoughts and theories about their new master's abilities with it. Sarutobi marveled at such a device. Well then, perhaps we could call it a bloodline to satisfy the council and others so they don't try to take it from you since, like Kyuubi, I doubt you'd be able to survive. Naruto nodded. He knew, from Grey Matter's info, that only high-level Tekker agreement between him and the High Ten could safely pull the Omnitrix from him. Fine, but does that mean I can start my own clan? Naruto asked. Sarutobi thought about it and smiled. If you want to, but you'd have to deal with the clan restoration laws that state you need more than one wife. Naruto blushed at that. Well, I'll think about that part later. I would like for you to name the Omnitrix an official bloodline and only tell the council about it when I expose it. I'm not skilled enough to use it right now to defend myself. Sarutobi nodded. Very well. I'll wait to inform the council about this, and when they find out, I'll put the motion for you to be announced as a new clan fourth. If you want, I could have a small compound built. I'm friends with some great carpenters and they could build it to your designs and I'd help with security seals and such. I know, as Hokage I'm not supposed to play favorites, but I see this as helping to ensure that a powerful new clan has incentive to stay in the Leaf Village. The old Hokage smirked. Naruto laughed. Yep, the old man was a sly old monkey. After Naruto agreed, the old man told him he had a week before the team placements would take place and that he could use the tower in the center of the Forest of Death for food and sleep if he needed it. Naruto bowed and thanked the old man and ran off to his house to gather supplies for his training trip. Sarutobi smiled as he watched Naruto leave from upon his balcony. Oh yes, things were about to get very interesting around here. When Naruto arrived outside the Forest of Death, he looked at its imposing, shadowy form and smiled. This place was perfect. He followed the directions the old man had given him and found the tower. There, an Anbu woman met him with a cat mask on. She said that the Hokage wanted her to show Naruto around and get him anything he might need. After he saw the living quarters, the kitchen, and pantry, Naruto asked her to tell the Hokage that he wanted new clothes in a specific style and design. He wrote the details down, as well as gave her a spare of his jumpsuit for size measurements and to get the design in its size and a few sizes bigger for future use. She nodded and left. When Naruto was sure she was gone, he left the tower and found a small clearing. Naruto removed his jumpsuit jacket, leaving him in a black t-shirt, held his left arm up and in front of him, and touched the circular part of the Omnitrix. It glowed green, and the Hergless design fused and took the shape of a diamond again, and a shadow image of one of the high 10 came up. Naruto twisted the silver-ish metal ring around the raised circle until the shadow image was of the one he wanted. He smiled. Hero time. The high 10 had told him of their former master's favorite battle cry. He wouldn't say it in battle, but felt he should say it for his first time using the Omnitrix. He pressed his hand down on the Omnitrix raised circle, and a bright green flash enveloped him. When the flash died down, there stood a floating Gostfriak. Cool. Naruto said in Gostfriak's raspy, creepy voice. He'd chosen Gostfriak because, out of all the high 10, he was the one with skills and powers ninja needed. Invisibility, intangibility, possession, mind reading, it was a perfect match for a ninja's needs. Besides, Gostfriak had told him about how once, long ago, he felt his old master was unworthy and that he wanted to be in control. Naruto understood and said he would work hard not to disappoint him or any other of the high 10 or aliens in the Omnitrix. Gostfriak's eye smiled and vowed he wouldn't do anything like that again. Besides, the seal on Naruto's stomach seemed to prevent possessions of any kind on Naruto. Now Naruto mentally smirking. Time to test and see if these forms can do what I hope they can. Naruto made the hand sign he'd learned the night before. Shadow clone, he called out. In a huge puff of smoke, there were now over 500 ghost freaks. Yes. They all chorused in the same creepy voice. Grey Matter had put his theory into Naruto's head that, perhaps, each alien could use chakra on a basic level, and elemental chakra, if their alien forms had a natural affinity to it. Grey Matter had analyzed the shadow clone before his and Gostfriak's info upload and told him that the clones seemed to have his abilities from when he made them and sent knowledge and experiences back to him and each other when dispelled. They couldn't change into aliens if they were made when Naruto was still human, but if he made them while in alien form, he could make a small army of any one of the high 10 and other later when he reached that level. Now, down to some serious training. Gostfriak said with conviction. And I'm going to refer to Naruto as whatever alien he is at the time and only talk about them separately if he's remembering a talk with them or is talking to them. Just a heads up. And so, the army of ghostly ninjas trained for the whole day. He timed out a few times and the clones dispersed when he did, but he'd just rest and wait to do it all over again. When night came, thanks again to Gostfriak's and Grey Matter's info, he shed his protective outer layer and took on his full Gostfriak form. His upside-down skull-like head and long claws made him look fierce, but his tentacles, that looked like Beetlejuice's, made him look like a nightmare come to life. Naruto made clones again and practiced his dark blasts and his possession on several large animals. He timed out a few times that night too, but just got back up when the Omnitrix allowed him to change again and recreated all the clones to start where they left off. When the morning light started to peek over the horizon, Gostfriak put his protective solar-resistant layer back on and allowed the Omnitrix to time out and dispel his clones. He'd gotten over 500 full days of training as Gostfriak in one night. He felt he'd sufficiently mastered the form and headed back to the tower. Once there, he slept until about 8 o'clock and then ate some ramen from the pantry. When he was done, he went out and found another area to train. This area had a whole bunch of large rocks and a small river flowing through it. Naruto activated the Omnitrix and selected a new member of the high 10. When he pushed down on the Omnitrix, the usual flash happened and in Naruto's place stood Diamond Head. Naruto smirked and created 600 shadow clones to practice his new powers. The week passed with similar scenes of transforming, shadow clones, training, timing out, and repeating the process until sunup the next day. The day before the Genin team placements, Naruto took stock of his abilities. He has now mastered Gostfriak, Diamond Head, Heatlist, Ripjaws, Wildmit, and Stinkfly. He'd taken full days to master each to his view of perfection and used every technique and style of fighting they were capable of using that he knew. He now only had Harem's, XLR8, Grey Matter, and Upgrade left to master. He was relaxing today so he wouldn't be tired the next day. He'd learned of the real Genin test that, after the teams were selected, they still had to pass. As Naruto was aimlessly walking around the tower, the same Anbu he'd met when he got there showed up with a few storage scrolls of clothes and departed after giving them to him. Naruto smiled and ran back to his room to unseal the clothes and change. When he was done, he looked at himself in the mirror in his room and smiled. He wore a black, sleeveless shirt that hugged his rather toned torso nicely and had the Omnitrix circle on it with his Uzumaki spiral in its center, a pair of black baggy pants that were tied with a dark green belt with the Omnitrix symbol for the bucks. They had many loops and pockets for scrolls and things. He also had on boots that melded to his skin over his socks while still being comfortable, keeping their shape and allowing his feet to breathe. He had another black bracer on his right forearm that looked like the Omnitrix, except it had no circular part sticking up. He removed the old blue cloth from his headband that Iruka gave him and replaced it with a forest green one. He tied his headband to his forehead and used chakra to slick his hair back slightly. He'd come across the to-do hairstyles years ago, but his usual spiky mess drew more attention, so he kept it. Naruto tweaked that and gave his hair a few dark green and black streaks. Then, Naruto pulled on black fingerless gloves with a Uzumaki spiral-adorned Omnitrix circle on the metal plated on the backs of the gloves. He attached his shuriken and kunai pouch to his belt on his right side and smiled at his reflection. For a moment, he could have sworn he'd seen the reflections of the High Ten and the shadows of countless others behind them in the mirror, smirking in satisfaction at his new look. With that, Naruto sealed away all his possessions into scrolls and went to watch some TV in his room until nightfall. Then he ate a nice dinner. He had started hunting for his food as training for both survival training and in using Wildmet and Ripjaws better, so he didn't eat ramen except for once in a while. He'd grown a bit from that small time of proper nutrition and gained a bit more muscle mass and height. Whereas he was 4'7" when he entered the forest, he was now 5'2". He attributed the growth to his new diet and the fox's healing powers. As he finished his meal and crawled into bed, he drifted to sleep with thoughts of what everyone would think of him when he showed up tomorrow. When Naruto awoke, he smirked as he got up and went to the shower. When he'd cleaned himself sufficiently and made sure his hair was in the style he wanted, he put on his new clothes, packed up his scroll in his bag, and left the tower. He hadn't just been training his alien forms in the forest. When he'd just timed out, he'd make many shadow clones and practice chakra control exercises like tree walking and water walking along with leaf balancing. He'd found a scroll of the exercises waiting for him in his room when the cat mask Anbu showed it to him. He thanked the old man for that. While his clones practiced the control exercises, he'd train his body with the chakra weights that were also in the scroll with the control exercises. He channeled in some weight but had put too much in and he had fallen to the ground in great pain. It burned his arms, legs, and chest where the weights were, and then it lessened until it was gone. When he stood up, he moved around and found that they didn't slow him down too much. After an hour of training with them, he found he didn't notice them anymore. When he took them off, he noticed that he could move faster than ever. He was tempted to repeat the painful process again to get stronger, but realized that, with his current height and size, that would make him bulky and slow. So, he decided to add just a little more weight and then stop for a while until he was taller. The results were great. Naruto made it out of the forest in half the time it took him to get from the outside to the tower. When he saw the houses and streets of the village, Naruto moved quickly through the rooftops and shadows towards the academy. When he got there, he was the only student there. He made his way to Iruka's classroom and walked in. When Iruka looked up from his paperwork, he was, at first, confused. "Who are you?" Naruto chuckled and smirked. "Aw, I'm hurt, Iruka-sensei," Naruto said in a mock whine. Iruka's eyes widened. "Naruto." "Yep, it's me. I've been training and eating things other than ramen all week." Iruka nodded. "Well, it seems to have agreed with you. And at least you're not wearing the kill me orange thing anymore," Iruka said with a smile. "Yeah, well, I only wore it because that was the only thing the shops would give me, sensei," Naruto said seriously. Iruka flinched at that. It would explain Naruto's faithfulness to the horror thing. "Besides," Naruto said as he walked up to Iruka and leaned in to whisper. Iruka leaned in and tilted his head to hear Naruto better. "I have to make sure my new clan and bloodline are looked at with some style, don't I?" Iruka's eyes nearly flew out of his head. "You have a" He was stopped by Naruto putting his hand over Iruka's mouth. "It's a secret between the Hokage, you, and me now. I don't want anyone to know about my new clan or my bloodline's abilities until I show it," Naruto said sternly. Iruka nodded and Naruto released his teacher's mouth. "I won't tell you what it is, but if you want to see it, come to where my team takes the real genin test." Naruto smirked at Iruka's shocked expression. "Yeah, I know about it, but I won't tell anyone until it's time to take it." Iruka smiled. Naruto had grown up some since he'd found out about the fox. Naruto smiled back and walked up to the back row and sat in the seat nearest the wall the door to the class was on, so no one would see him when they first walked in. Iruka went back to his paperwork until the new genin started to arrive. No one noticed him as they took their usual seats. Iruka was about to start when Sakura and Ino came rampaging in. They bickered like usual until Iruka told them to sit down. They complied and, when everyone was seated, Iruka gave his usual graduation speech. Then he started going through the teams. Team 1. Back in the Hokage's office, several were present, watching Iruka call the teams through the Hokage's crystal ball. A minute later, a bored-looking poofed into the room, his nose buried in a certain orange book. The female in the room scowled at him as he walked up to watch the crystal. He put his book away and looked on with a bored expression as he put his hands into his pockets. "So they've started," Kakashi said in his usual bored tone. "Yeah, but who is that guy?" Asuma asked as he took a drag from his cigarette. "Would you stop smoking those in here, and who are you talking about?" Kurenai asked. She could like Asuma if only he wouldn't smoke. "That guy," Asuma said as he pointed at the crystal ball, specifically at the image of a young man with black clothes, green and black streaked hair and a strange symbol on his clothes. The old Hokage chuckled. "That, Asuma, is the founder of a new clan in our village. He'd been sent a clone from Naruto that said he'd gotten to a point where he could allow the old man to tell some people about him, but not to give too much info on him." The Jounins in the room looked surprised. "A new clan?" Kurenai asked. "Does he have a bloodline? What is the clan's name? Who is he?" Kakashi asked. Sarutobi just smirked. "Yes to the first question, and that's all I'll say about it for now, and the other two questions will be answered when Iruka calls his name in a moment." The gathered Jounins racked their brains trying to remember if they had seen that symbol the boy wears before. The felt part of his look was familiar, but the rest of him, they had no clue. They listened in and looked on as Iruka continued team placements. Iruka had just finished with teams 1 through 6. Team 7 will be Ino. Yamanaka Ino sat on the edge of her seat. Sakura Harino Sakura looked at Ino, and they were both on edge. Hinata Hyuga Hinata looked surprised at this, and the other two girls were about to whine when Iruka continued, and finally Naruto Uzumaki. Sakura and Ino cried out in surprise. "What?" Sakura recovered first. But Iruka-sensei, Naruto didn't even pass." Ino nodded in agreement, and for once it wasn't about Sasuke. Hinata was blushing furiously, and inner Hinata was doing cartwheels while chanting, "Yes, yes." Iruka chuckled. Actually Sakura, after he failed the test, Mizuki tricked him into stealing a scroll so he could kill Naruto and leave the village with it. The class, especially Hinata, gasped at that. "I found Naruto first, and he told me what Mizuki said when he tricked him. When Mizuki showed up, I was wounded and he beat Mizuki to a pulp. After we went back to the Hokage, we had him tested, and it seems he has a rare condition that makes his chakra reserves much larger and his chakra much more dense than it should be. That was why he couldn't make a clone, it was too strong to ever be lowered enough for the Hokage allowed Naruto to learn a clone that required more chakra than a genin should have, and he performed it perfectly," Iruka said, slipping into a minor lecture mode. The class was stunned. Naruto's chakra was too powerful. That was why he failed. He now knows a stronger clone and beat up Mizuki Ichunin. Sasuke was calm on the outside, but livid on the inside. How dare the no-name Dun have more power than him? Ino recovered from the news first. "So, if Naruto passed, where would he?" "Back here, Ino," a familiar voice called out. Everyone turned to the back corner of the room and gasped. The guys were stunned, Hinata blushed and fainted, and Sakura and Ino blushed slightly. Naruto stood up and they blushed more as they saw the muscles in his arms and torso flex slightly. He walked down to them and, since they were sitting next to same aisle, on the same row, he reached out and pushed their open mouths closed gently and smiled at them. This wasn't his usual idiot grin. This was a fox-like lady killer smile. They blushed more but didn't dare move as he looked each in the eyes, one after the other. "I have decided to stop being an idiot, so I hope we can have a fresh start and work well together, Ino-chan, Sakura-chan." He smiled his fox-like lady killer smile again, and the two girls could only nod numbly at him. Everyone, even Sasuke, was amazed that this was the same deadliest idiot they'd known for years. And now he said he was only acting like an idiot. Naruto sat down in the aisle between Ino and Sakura and smiled while he waited for Iruka to continue. Iruka, while calmly smiling on the outside, was laughing on the inside. Inner Iruka had two open fans in his hands and was waving them in unison with a banner over his head that said "Way to go, Naruto." On it while confetti and balloons fell from the sky. He coughed and continued. "Your sensei will be Kurenai Yuuhi. Teammate will be Shikamaru, Choji, Shino, and Kiba. Your sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. Team 9 is still in circulation, Team 10 will be Sasuke Uchiha and Sai." They were surprised that the Uchiha only had one teammate and that it was the freaky kid who joined last year. He had a fake smile on all the time and no one really liked him, especially since he liked to use insults as friendly hellos. "Your sensei will be Kakashi Haddock." Iruka then put his clipboard under his arms and smiled. "Your sensei will be here to pick you up shortly and I know you'll all do great. When you're all famous ninja, come and visit me. I'll either be here or in a retirement home." Everyone laughed at that, everyone except Sasuke and Sai of course. Then Iruka left. Back in the Hokage's office, all were speechless. The same kid they all thought of as kind of dumb and immature had just shown up, shut the two biggest fangirls in the village up with a few words and a smile, and was on a four-man cell plus sensei with four girls. "Hokage-sama," Kakashi spoke. If Naruto passed, shouldn't he be the dead last and be placed with Sasuke, the Rookie of the Year? Normally yes Kakashi, but since he passed late, I had to redo the team lineups, and this was the best I could come up with. Plus, his new bloodline could put him on par with any Chunin now, and with some more training, a fully realized and Sharingan user would have difficulty defeating him. Everyone was silent at that. What could the Kyuubi container do with this bloodline that made him so powerful? Also, he will strive to not only improve himself, but his teammates. I have seen how shy Hinata is, how weak Sakura is, and how arrogant Ino is. Kurenai can help them to a point, but Naruto can help even more. I also think he'll be able to heal the rift between Ino and Sakura, and, being with the other girls so much, might help Hinata with her confidence better than if she was on a team with two guys. The others I placed because they too could learn from each other. But the Suma's team, Kiba could learn to be calmer and more rational from Shikamaru and Shino while improving his strength against Choji. Shino could open up more as he will be around Shikamaru who is similar in intellect to him, and with Choji being so non-judgmental he won't feel weird and uncomfortable being around Shino and his bugs. Choji will gain more male friends besides Shikamaru, and Shikamaru will have a similar mind to bounce ideas off of and maybe some new people to play Go and Shogi with, as well as the possibility that Kiba's confidence and aggressiveness may rub off on him and help him out more. Their combinations of family and skills will make them an excellent attack, defense, tracking, and scouting team. I put Sai and Sasuke with Kakashi because Kakashi is the only one who can teach him about his Sharingan when it activates, and I hope some of Sai's humility will rub off on him. I want Sai to get in touch with his emotions more. Maybe the Uchiha's attitude can at least get some anger out of him, and then we can go from there. Plus, he makes a good stealth support type for Sasuke's assault recon type. The Hokage explained. He just made it up on the spot, but that didn't change the fact that his reasons were valid. Now, I suggest you all get going and meet your teams. This will be the first time we've had a Genin team come out in 2 4-man cells and 1 2-man cell. The Jounins left and Sarutobi sighed. Then he smirked and looked into his crystal ball. Now, show them all Naruto. Show them what a good heart with power behind it can do. After Iruka left, all the Genin gathered into their teams. Ino had managed to wake up Hinata and escorted her over to where Naruto now sat, still in between the rows in the middle of the aisle. They all sat on the aisle, the girls each facing Naruto, and he was still smiling. So, Naruto, Ino started, what happened to you? I mean, we heard about how you passed and all, but you look different. You look hot. She thought. Well Ino-chan, she blushed at this, I've wanted new clothes for a long time, but due to things I'm not ready to tell you about, that orange nightmare was all anyone would sell me. I got my new clothes from the Hokage as a graduation present for helping the village with Mizuki. Naruto stated. The 3 girls wondered why the stores would only sell him clothes in Kill Me Orange, but decided that he'd tell them when they were ready. So, Sakura took up the inquisition, what does that symbol on all your clothes mean? Naruto scratched the back of his head with his right hand. Well, you see a poof in the front of the class cut him off. A beautiful woman came out of the smoke. She was wearing an outfit that seemed to be made mostly out of bandages with a long red sleeve covering her left arm. Team 7, I'm Kurenai, let's go. She said with a smile. The girls and Naruto got up and followed Kurenai out of the academy, and they walked down the streets of the village until they came to a small training ground with a bunch of trees placed sporadically around a plain-like area. Kurenai stopped in the center of the training ground and turned to her team and motioned for them all to sit down on the few flat rocks that were visible. When they, Kurenai included, were all sitting down facing each other, the 3 girls were on one large rock together, while Naruto and Kurenai were on small rocks. Okay, Kurenai exclaimed, now, how about we introduce ourselves? You know, our likes, dislikes, hobbies, etc. Sakura nodded and went first. My name is Sakura Haruno. I like Sasuke-kun, my dislikes are those who get in the way of me being with Sasuke-kun, and my hobbies are, she blushed, well I'd rather not say. Kurenai sighed. Good God, a fangirl. Please give me the strength not to kill her. Kurenai mentally wailed. Okay, you in purple, you're next. Ino nodded. My name is Ino Yamanaka, my likes are gardening, my family, my friends and boys, and my dislikes are bullies, lazy slackers, and those who betray their friends for no reason. Ino glared at Sakura for a moment, but then turned back to everyone. My hobbies are gardening, practicing with my family, gossiping, and messing with people. Ino smiled as she ended her intro. Kurenai smiled too. Well, at least she's not a total fangirl and has some sense of loyalty and wants to be a ninja. And it's good her whole world doesn't revolve around the Uchiha. Then Kurenai pointed to Hinata. You're next. Hinata blushed and nodded. My name is Hinata Hyuga. My likes are, she tries not to look at Naruto, flowers, kind people, people who do their best, and my friends. My dislikes are how my clan does things with the main and branch houses, and my hobbies are flower pressing, reading, practicing my style of gentle fist jutsu. Hinata said, as confidently as she could. Kurenai smiled. Hinata. Then Kurenai pointed to Naruto. Your turn, Naruto. Naruto smiles his fox-like lady killer smile. Every girl, even Kurenai, blushes slightly as he does this. Well, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes are my precious people, my team, ramen, training, and having a good time with friends. My dislikes are those who judge people they don't really know, arrogant people who believe their family name or relation to someone makes them better or superior to others, fangirls, and most importantly I hate anyone who hurts one of my precious people. My hobbies are training, playing around with friends, learning new skills, helping my friends, trying new foods, and practicing with my bloodline. My dream for the future is to build my clan and pass on my bloodline to one of my descendants and protect my home and precious people. Naruto started with a smile. Wait, what? Sakura shouted. Why, you have a bloodline? Ino and Hinata were equally stunned. Kurenai tilted her head to the side in a cute way. The Hokage did mention it before I arrived to pick you all up. So, Naruto, what is it and what does it do? She asked. The other three girls leaned forward to hear his answer. Naruto sweat dropped and smiled. Well, I guess I should tell you since we're on the same team. They listened carefully. Naruto looked to the midday sky. Have you ever just looked at the stars? He asked. Huh? Ino asked. What does that have to do with anything? Naruto looked at her. Around many of those stars are planets like ours, and on those planets are different forms of life. Plants, animals, peoples. That is my bloodline. Naruto stated truthfully. The four women were stumped. You Naruto-kun, what do you mean? Hinata asked shyly. She had to fight to keep from blushing too hard and fainting. Well, Hinata-chan, she nearly fainted at that. My bloodline gives me the power of most of those beings that live around those stars. Naruto stated. So, wait, are you saying you're an alien? Sakura asked, not believing a word and thinking that maybe Naruto had finally lost it. No, Sakura, I mean that I can become them. Naruto corrected me. Come on, Naruto, you can't be serious. I mean aliens. Please. Ino said with a disbelieving expression on her face. I must admit, Naruto, Kurenai interjected, it does sound far-fetched. She also began to wonder about both Naruto's and the Hokage's sanity. Naruto sighed. Well, I might as well show you. Naruto stood up and moved away from the rocks. He motioned for them to follow him. They all stood up and followed behind them. When they were in a nice clearing, Naruto stopped and motioned for them to stand a few feet back. They complied but were confused about what Naruto was going to do. Naruto raised his left arm and held it across his chest, out from him. He touched a circular area on his left braces and it glowed a deep green. He seemed to be turning the circle around on the bracer. Before any of the girls could ask him what he was doing, he slammed his hand down on the circle. The blinding flash of green caused the girls to close their eyes. When the flash died down, they opened their eyes to look at Naruto. They gasped at what they saw. Standing where Naruto was before was a huge man-shaped creature wearing an all-black sleeveless shirt and all-black pants and boots. Its body looked like a crystal carved into a human shape. It had two large jagged crystal spikes sticking out its back and bright yellow eyes. It was easily 8 or 9 feet tall and looked muscular, or would if it had anything they'd be able to recognize as muscles. The creature looked at them and put its fisted hand on its hips. Well, it asked in a deep voice, do you believe me now? The three girls were stunned. He wasn't making it up. He'd just transformed into a huge crystal alien. Ino was the first to speak. And Naruto? Is that really you? The crystal man smiled, or what they thought looked like a smile. Yes, Ino-chan, it's me. This is one of the forms I can take. In this form I'm called Diamond Head. My body is made of a bio-crystal that is as hard as diamonds. Here, watch this. He held out his left hand towards a nearby tree. His hand seemed to fracture, and a bunch of sharp-looking crystals extended from where his hand was and started to fire out at the tree. When he stopped, the four ladies looked at the tree that was shredded. Large shards of crystal littered the shredded stump and the fallen tree. Naruto lowered his left arm and they saw that it had resumed its crystal-like hand shape. Then Naruto smirked at them. Also, he held out his hands to the girls. One to Sakura and Ino and one to Kurenai and Hinata. They watched as his palms cracked in 2 places in each palm, and from those cracks, 4 roses made of green crystal grew. He motioned towards the crystal flowers with his head and they each took hold of one. Despite his claims of shooting diamond hard shards, the roses broke off easily and each girl looked at their crystal rose with blushes and small smiles. Wow, thank you, Naruto-kun. Ino said as she marveled at the green rose, not realizing she'd added the kun. Suffix. Why yes, thank why you Naruto-kun. Hinata stammered out. Sakura was speechless, and Kurenai smiled. It truly was a beautiful crystal rose. They're beautiful Naruto. She said honestly. Naruto was about to reply when the small raised circle symbol on his chest began to flash red. The four Kunoichi looked at him in confusion and were about to ask what it was when a bright red flash blinded them. When they looked back at Naruto, they saw he was once again in his normal human form. He scratched the back of his head. Sorry for not warning you. I'm only on the first of 4 levels of my bloodline. I can only stay in an alien form for a few minutes before I time out and return to normal. I also can't use my bloodline for several minutes after timing out, Naruto said sheepishly. Naruto? Ino asked. He turned to her and tilted his head to the side. An action she thought was rather cute. How many different things can you turn into? She wanted to know what else he could do. It was just all too amazing. Well, until I reach level 2 of my bloodline, which is called Omnitrix by the way, I can only change into one of 10. Once I reach level 2, I will gain a new form every time I've mastered all that I currently have. I've only mastered 6 of the 10, so I still need 4 more to master before I get any new ones. Naruto answered honestly. Oh. Ino thought that it sounded fairly reasonable from a guy who turned into aliens. Naruto, Sakura spoke, you said you were starting a clan right? Naruto nodded. Why didn't anyone know you had this before now? Naruto sighed. I'm an orphan Sakura. No one knows who my parents are, so there's no way anyone could have known before my bloodline manifested. He knew it was a partial lie, but decided to run with it until he trusted them more. Sakura nodded. What other things can you turn into Naruto? Kurenai asked. She was very curious. Naruto's left arm flashed green, and he smirked. Well, I can use it again, so how about I treat you girls to a special gift besides the roses? They blushed at that. They had each put their roses in their hair absent-mindedly. Sure, okay. Ino said hesitantly. Why was she blushing so much around Naruto? She liked Sasuke right? Okay, but for this gift, you all have to be pretty brave. Can you do that? Naruto asked with a smirk. The women looked at each other and smirked back at Naruto. He nodded and activated his Omnitrix. After the flash died down, each of the girls barely had a moment before something big rushed between their legs and lifted them up. When they saw what was happening, they saw that they were on the back of some kind of giant bug. It beat its huge wings and lifted off the ground. In a moment, the 4 girls found themselves high above the village. Ino and Sakura screamed, Hinata fainted and fell back into Kurenai, and she just looked dumbstruck. After a few minutes of screaming, calming down, and waking Hinata up, the giant bug turned its head to the girls and they saw the familiar circle on its head. Sakura hit its head. Naruto. Don't do that. I was scared to death. She screamed. Are you sure it's smart to hit the head of the guy whose back you're flying on Sakura? The bug replied in a nasally voice. Sakura halted her assault and simply leaned onto Naruto's back. When everyone calmed down, they looked down at the village. Naruto was flying over it at a lazy speed. They continued for another few minutes before Naruto landed back at their original training field. When the last girl was off, the circle on his head began to flash red and he returned to normal. The girls were out of breath but smiling. That was awesome. Ino yelled as she pumped her fist into the air. Yeah. Sakura chorused. Hinata blushed but smiled and nodded. Kurenai smiled. I must say, that was fun Naruto. We'll have to do it again sometime. She still had a light blush on her face from the excitement but smiled without hiding it. Naruto smiled at them. Then he noticed the sun was starting to set. Well, it's getting dark, Naruto said. They all looked at the sun and Kurenai nodded. Alright, meet here tomorrow for your first team mission, dismissed. Kurenai-sensei? Naruto asked. Yes Naruto? She asked in response. I don't mean to be sexist or anything but would you all mind if I walked you all home? He asked nervously. Hinata blushed madly, Ino blushed lightly, Sakura tried to look indifferent and Kurenai smiled. At least he was a gentleman and not some horn dog pervert or an arrogant idiot who didn't care about his team. It's fine with me, Naruto. The rest of the girls all nodded. Then Naruto escorted each one home. First Hinata, who said a blushing goodbye and ran inside, then Sakura who waved as they left. Then Ino, who hugged Naruto, he blushed and went inside. Kurenai smiled. Ino didn't lie, she did like to mess with people. Finally, they arrived at Kurenai's apartment. He walked her up to the steps and after she unlocked the door and stood in the doorway, she turned and smiled at him. See you tomorrow Naruto. Naruto smiled and nodded. Until then, Kurenai-sensei. Then Naruto touched his Omnitrix and changed into an upright lizard-looking thing. A metal mask with a glass visor seems to come out from the top of the creature's skull and cover his face. It then turned and sped off down the street faster than Kurenai thought anyone other than Guy could move. She closed her door and smiled. She reached up and pulled the crystal rose from her hair. As her house lights shined on it, it reflected the lights in a beautiful way. I think my life just got very interesting, she thought as she walked further into her house. It was 7 a.m. in the Hidden Leaf village. As the sun rose up, as the circular crest on one gray figure's back started to flash red, all of them stopped what they were doing. In a blinding red flash, all the little gray men were gone and only a single boy remained. He stretched his arms and legs and walked around the area, picking up the different scrolls strewn all around the area. Naruto had used the whole night to master the gray matter form. After mastering gray matter's size and agility, Naruto practiced with his thinking power. Since Naruto couldn't remember what he could as gray matter, he decided to write down his ideas and innovations on scrolls. Naruto had used a large portion of the night to come up with training strategies, designs for a new house, and some seal designs that would make a seal master gape. Naruto had studied seals as gray matter and he'd picked up on the art quickly. In his gray matter state, he was a low-level seal master, but that was only because he didn't have enough material to study up on the subject at the moment. As Naruto sealed the scroll away, he looked down at the village. Only Harem's XLR8 and upgrade are left to master. He planned on working on XLR8 after his team meeting was over with. He knew that, while some of his forms had raw power, if you couldn't hit the target, what was the point? Naruto sighed. He looked up at the still pink morning sky. Today will be most interesting. He shuddered. Man, I guess I spent a little too much time as gray matter. I'm starting to talk like him when I'm normal. He thought about that and grinned embarrassedly. Well, as normal as I can get, I guess. He then straightened up and jumped off the third's head. When he started his descent, he touched the Omnitrix and selected Stinkfly. After he changed, he flew to the training ground he'd been at the day before. When he got there, he saw that he was early by about a few minutes, so he decided to get some more training in. He pulled out a scroll, opened it, unsealed 8 chakra weight bars, and infused enough chakra to make them weigh about 10 pounds in them. When he was done, he put away the scroll and positioned each bar on him and held it there with chakra. 1 on each foot's top, 1 on each shin, 1 on each arm, 1 on his chest, and 1 on his forehead. He then went over to a nearby tree and started to walk up and down it a few times before making a few shadow clones and having them do the same. That was the scene the 4 women came upon when they arrived 10 minutes later. 70 Narutos were walking up and down trees with little metal bars sticking to them. When one clone noticed them, it dispelled itself and the rest suddenly looked over at them, then all but the original dispelled and he walked over to them with the weight still being held in place. "Morning," Naruto said with a smile. Hinata could only nod dumbly and blush as red as a tomato. So many Naruto-kuns. Her mind was in a slight loop for the moment. Ino and Sakura looked at Naruto. Ino spoke first. "Hey, Naruto, what were you doing? How were you walking up and down those trees? And what are those metal bars sticking to you?" Naruto chuckled. That irked Ino somewhat, but she just crossed her arms and waited for an explanation. "Well, Ino-chan, in that order, I was training my body and chakra control. I was using chakra to stick to the tree to improve control and stamina, and these little bars are chakra weight set at 10 pounds each, and I'm holding them to me like I held myself to the trees. Hiruka-sensei taught us the leaf balancing exercise. This is just my variation on it to improve chakra control and my physical strength and stamina at the same time," Naruto said calmly. Ino and Sakura were gaping in shock. Kurenai was very impressed with Naruto. He'd not only learned 2 chakra control exercises, but modified them to give him greater control, as well as physical training. Hinata, who snapped out of her fantasies involving multiple Narutos, listened to him from the start of his explanation. She was even more impressed by him than before. "Naruto-kun." When Kurenai straightened up, she crossed her arms and looked at her team to be. "Alright, enough wasting time. Before you are assigned any missions, as a team, you must complete the joining provided True Genin exam." Sakura, Ino, and Hinata looked shocked while Naruto looked bored. Did he already know? Kurenai asked herself. "But Kurenai-sensei," Sakura asked, "we already passed the Genin exam, didn't we?" Kurenai shook her head. "Yes, you passed the basic skill qualifications, but not the team test and genuine overall function test. The first made sure you had basic Genin level skills. This will determine if you are really ready to be genuine," she stated. "So what do we have to do, Kurenai-sensei?" Hinata asked in her usual timid voice. "It is simple." Kurenai responded, "All you have to do is retrieve an item for me in a 2-hour time limit and then bring the item to me. You'll also have to tell me what each of you did to get it, and if you fail to get the item before 2 hours is up, you'll all be sent back to the academy," she said with a sickly sweet smile. The 3 girls looked pale, but Naruto smirked. He walked up behind the girls and wrapped his arms around their shoulders. Ino and Sakura in one arm, Hinata in another. Hinata had to use all her willpower not to faint from embarrassment and delight. Sakura smiled at the gesture, and Ino smiled, but also blushed slightly and twiddled her finger in a very Hinata-like fashion. "No problem, Kurenai-sensei. With the 3 most talented Kunoichi of our class with me, we'll be fine," he said with a smile and absolute confidence in his teammates. They all smiled at his praise and vowed to make sure it wasn't misplaced. Kurenai smiled too. The boy definitely is squad leader material. Not to mention he didn't say anything about his Omnitrix bloodliner himself. He spoke of his teammates and, while giving them confidence, spoke as an average ninja. That's rare with bloodline users. Normally they're a little arrogant. I'm surprised Naruto isn't. His file said he loved attention, and with a bloodline that can make him into different creatures at will, I'd have expected him to brag and use it as his main and only plan. I guess he was wearing an idiot mask and dropped it. Kurenai thought. Okay then, I want you to find Kakashi Haddock and take the little orange book he has in his possession. You can do it without getting caught or take it and run. All that counts is that it is in my hand by the time the 2 hours is up and that you tell me what you did while obtaining it. Good luck. With that, she disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Naruto turned to the girls. Okay, I've seen Kakashi before. Here's his description and his habits. Naruto then detailed all he'd observed of the scarecrow-like pervert. When he was done, Sakura thought for a moment and then smirked as she came up with a plan. From the Hokage's office, Sarutobi and Kurenai watched as Team 7 began implementing their plan. Kurenai smiled. Yep, a born squad leader. He gives info to his team and listens to advice from a strategically better mind. Kurenai said with a little pride. Sarutobi agreed. Naruto was leader material. It was 9 AM when Kakashi arrived at the training ground near the memorial stone. He saw Sai and Sasuke sitting under a nearby tree. Sasuke was brooding and Sai was drawing in one of his scrolls. When they saw their sensei coming, they stood up. "So, what's this test, sensei?" Sasuke asked. "Well, it's very simple. You have to steal this bell from me before noon. Whoever has a bell by noon will pass and remain, whoever doesn't will be dropped from the shinobi program forever." His eyes smiled. Sasuke's eyes widened at that, while Sai looked on blankly. Kakashi set a clock on a nearby rock. "Begin." "Man. Don't feel like explaining the test." Sai tried to help Sasuke per orders from Danzo and succeeded. Kakashi asked who got to pass. Sasuke said himself. Sai said Sasuke. Kakashi sighed and passed him anyway due to the council and that Sai seemed to get the whole teamwork thing. He hoped Sasuke would get better in time. Kakashi was sitting on a rock near the memorial stone as Sai went home and Sasuke was walking over to him. Before Sasuke could speak, 4 kunai shot out at Kakashi. He dodged while still holding his book and Sasuke got beside him in a ready stance. A single man dressed in yellow ninja robes, Scorpion's clothes from Mortal Kombat. And he stood there with his arms crossed. "Who are you?" Kakashi asked as he put his book into his kunai pouch and drew out a kunai. The yellow-clad ninja said nothing and pulled his right arm back into a fist. Before Kakashi knew what he was doing, the man shot his fist forward and opened his palm. His open palm was facing Sasuke, but nothing happened. But Kakashi's question died on his lips as Sasuke fell down onto the ground, unconscious. Kakashi was on the defensive. He had no idea what this yellow ninja had just used, nor did he know what it had done to Sasuke. He contemplated running, but he saw several dozen shadow clones of the yellow ninja behind him. He knew he couldn't fight them and carry Sasuke at the same time. He looked at the first ninja. "As I said before, who are you and what do you want?" The yellow-clad ninja took up a fighting stance. He rushed forward and Kakashi did the same. When Kakashi managed to hit the yellow ninja with his kunai, it went up in a puff of smoke. Shadow clone. Kakashi realized. Before he had a chance to figure it out, the yellow-clad ninja was behind him and used a gentle fist to close most of his chakra points. This stunned Kakashi. No one should be able to do that except a Hyuga. Kakashi looked at the man's eyes and saw they were filmed over. He was blind. Kakashi tried to jump away but was hit by a shadow clone's kick to the face. He managed a replacement, but it seemed that there was another shadow clone waiting for him. He was soon dogpiled by a number of shadow clones. He tried to throw them off, but they all weighed a ton. Then, as soon as he was contemplating removing his headband and calling his dog summons, all the shadow clones vanished. Kakashi was up in an instant and removed his headband to reveal his Sharingan eye. He looked around. The yellow ninja was nowhere to be found. He ran to Sasuke and saw that he was unharmed. He also saw a small scroll laid on top of Sasuke's back. He carefully picked it up and opened it. He sweat dropped. Inside it read, "Thank you for participating in this genin test. Had this been an actual attack, you would have gotten beat down and owned. Our thanks for the use of your body as a punching bag, Team 7. Then it had 4 drawings of Naruto, Hinata, Ino, and Sakura giving the peace sign. Okay? Kakashi said as he rolled up a scroll. That was weird. He'd have to talk to the Hokage about this. He reached into his pouch to pull out his book when it wasn't there. Kakashi's eyes widened. What? It has to be there. I put it there when it hit him. He put it in his pouch when the yellow ninja attacked and his shadow clones had dogpiled him. No. Kakashi cried out. The sounds of his cries echoed across the Leaf Village. After a few minutes of searching with Hinata's, Team 7 found Kurenai in the Hokage's office. They landed on the balcony and opened the window to walk in. Once inside, the genin handed Kurenai Kakashi's book and stood at attention. Kurenai was deeply impressed but didn't show it. Alright, now explain your roles in the book's retrieval. They nodded. Naruto went first. Each used a transformation to look like the same yellow-dressed ninja. I also made several dozen shadow clones in the same disguise. We waited for Kakashi and Sasuke to be away from Sai and then attacked. Knowing that they would be tired after their exam, we chose that time since they would be at their weakest then. Then Ino stepped up. While Naruto distracted Kakashi and Sasuke, I was busy preparing my mind switch. We timed it so that it happened right when Naruto thrust his hand forward. I took control and Sakura came up behind me and knocked Sasuke out. Sakura looked a little ashamed at that but didn't show it much. Then Hinata stepped forward. While Ino and Sakura took care of Sasuke, Naruto engaged Kakashi into Jutsu, and I, well transformed into the same yellow ninja, used a gentle fist to disable as many of his chakra points as possible. She didn't stutter once during her explanation. Kurenai assumed it was due to adrenaline and the fact they had succeeded. Naruto spoke again. After Hinata weakened him further, I chased him down and the dog piled him. While he was struggling to get free, one of my clones grabbed his book without him noticing. Then, we pulled back and left. I left my shadow clones there for a few more seconds before they dispelled so we could get away. Kurenai nodded. She and the Hokage had been impressed during most of the planning stage they'd witnessed and been able to hear, and also the execution of the plan was flawless. There was one question. Naruto? Kurenai asked. He looked at her. Why didn't you use your bloodline to help with the plan? Naruto sighed. I analyzed which forms would have helped with the plan, but there were a few problems with using any of them. With Ghostriak XLR8, I could have stolen the book without being stopped. I could also have drawn the battle out by using Diamond Head, Heatlist, and Firearms. But there were 2 problems with this strategy. 1, it would allow Kakashi to see my alien forms and devise future attack strategies for Sasuke to use against me, since he'll no doubt want to fight me, since he believes he, as an Uchiha, deserves power above all others. 2, each plan involving my alien forms would require me to work alone, as a battle with 3 of them would be too dangerous for my teammates to get involved with, and the use of the first 2 I mentioned wouldn't require their assistance at all. Naruto sighed. We figured out the test, sensei. Well, I already knew about its point from research in the library and asking a few people covertly about it, but the girls figured it out very quickly. Me using my alien forms would have just exposed my bloodline's power unnecessarily and left my teammates out in the cold. Kurenai smiled and nodded. Sakura had wanted to object to Sasuke but remained quiet. Her and Ino's talk with Naruto during the planning stage had given her a lot to think about. She'd been against hurting Sasuke, even to knock him out. Ino also didn't like it but was more reserved in voicing it. Naruto had sighed and explained everything he'd observed about Sasuke and about how he treated the girls. He also explained what he believed the results of his own teamwork test would be and how he would react if their plan succeeded. He knew Sasuke would come after Sakura and Ino for embarrassing him and then go for Naruto to challenge him or demand he tell him his techniques. Sakura had, yet again, denied the truth of his claims, while Ino seemed to think about the truth in his words. Finally, Naruto told Sakura to wait and see. If he was wrong, he'd apologize to her. But, if he was right, he'd made her promise to take a good look at herself and the Uchiha's actions and behavior from a neutral standpoint by picturing what she would do if someone else acted the same way and wasn't as handsomer an Uchiha. She'd agreed and they'd gone back to planning. Sakura sighed. Everything Naruto said would happen so far. If his last predictions came true, Sakura was in for a long hard look at the world. Kurenai had overheard that over the crystal ball and hoped Naruto's plan to get Sakura to be serious and give up on the Uchiha would work. Alright, Team 7 is now an official team. We'll meet. She was cut off as Naruto raised his hand and spoke. Sensei? He asked. Yes, Naruto? She asked. I request a week before we start missions. I need a couple of days to master the first level of my bloodline completely and then I'll be able to use the second level. It shouldn't take more than 4 days. The last 3 days will be used for getting used to level 2. I know this is asking for you and my teammates to put the start of our team's career on hold, but it would make me better able to help out in situations, and you could also train the girls while I'm doing this. That way we'll be stronger when we start missions, and I won't have to deal with my new level if I reach it during a mission and have no control over it," Naruto stated. Kurenai thought about it and it seemed like a good idea. "I have no objections to this." She turned to the old man. "Hokage-sama." Sarutobi nodded. "Very well. Naruto will spend the week training, and his other teammates will meet with you Kurenai for their training." They all nodded and were about to leave when an Anbu appeared and stood before the door. "Hokage-sama, the village council has called you and Team 7 before them." Then he was gone in a swirl of leaves. The old man wondered what they could want. "Okay, Team 7, follow me." They all nodded and followed the old Hokage to the council chambers. Once inside, they all stood in the center of the room as the council looked at them from their seat on the large half-circle table. "What is going on here?" the Hokage asked. The civilian councilman spoke first. "We are here to discuss the arrest of Naruto Uzumaki and the stripping of his teammates from their ranks as ninjas of this village," he said with a sneer at Naruto. "What?" All the members of Team 7 and the Hokage said at once. "On what grounds?" Sarutobi roared. "The attack two fellow Leaf Shinobi and wounded the Uchiha. Sasuke came here earlier and demanded that their techniques be given to them and that they be punished for attacking a member of a noble family of the village," the same councilman said with a slight smirk. Team 7 and the Hokage looked off to the side and saw Sasuke standing there with his arms crossed and a smirk on his face. Inoichi Yamanaka spoke next. "We have called this meeting to find out the truth of the Uchiha's claims, not take them at face value and punish them without hearing their side of the story." Shikaku and Chauza agreed, as did Tsume and Hiashi along with Councilwoman Haruno. "Why would the Uchiha lie?" the same councilman asked in disbelief that they weren't going to hang the demon on the spot. "We all know the demon brat did it. He should never have been allowed near the academy, much less be a ninja." Everyone on the ninja part of the council and Councilwoman Haruno looked at the nodding heads of the civilian half with disdain, except for Danzo. The Hokage was seething. "You have just broken my law, councilman. You are now to be executed." The old man made a hand motion and two Anbu showed up and took the councilman away. After that was done, Kurenai explained what her test was, their intentions, and each other's role in the plan. The ninja council and Haruno nodded. "Well then, it seems that there was no real attack on a fellow shinobi since it was a test and they'd been told to do it by someone of higher authority and they were being monitored during their actions," Hayashi said, slightly proud that his daughter had done well. But the Uchiha, the idiot councilwoman, was silenced with a glare from the Hokage. The Uchiha bore false witness, tried to get 4 innocent genin into serious trouble because he was embarrassed, tried to circumvent me, and wasted mine and the council's time," Sarutobi said with a cold tone. He then looked over at Sasuke. "For this transgression, you will be put on 1-month probation. No missions, no training by Kakashi or any other ninja of this village, no nothing." The council tried to object, but Sasuke roared and charged the old man. Before he could get close though, Naruto jumped in the way and punched Sasuke to the ground. Sasuke got back up and started doing hand signs the Hokage knew as fireball and launched a fireball at the girls of Team 7 and the Hokage. Before anyone could blink, Naruto made several shadow clones that made a wall between the girls and the Hokage and the fireball. He also had some clones grab the girls and the Hokage and jump out of the way with them. When the fireball hit, it destroyed the clones. Before Sasuke could do more, Anbu appeared behind him and chopped the back of his neck, knocking him out. The council was stunned that the Uchiha would openly attack the Hokage and fellow Leaf Ninja. The old man ordered Sasuke be put in jail until he could decide how to deal with him. Haruno, Hiashi, and Inoichi were thankful Naruto had saved their daughters, and Kurenai was thankful as well for the rescue, since she was also too shocked at the Uchiha's actions to move. When that was done, Team 7 was dismissed while their sensei stayed and spoke with the Hokage and the council. When they were far enough away, Sakura began to cry and Ino had some small tears in her eyes as well. Naruto moved between them and pulled them into a hug. Hinata hugged them from behind, understanding how hurt they must be shown the truth about the object of their affections. After a few minutes of sobbing, they both calmed down and allowed Naruto to walk each of them home. When he'd dropped the last one off, he sped towards the Forest of Death. He needed to get to work on his last 3 aliens and get to mastering level 2. Sakura kept her promise and thought long and hard about Sasuke and his actions. She realized that he had only ever been mean and condescending to her and Ino, well, to everyone actually. She remembered how Naruto would try and make friends with her and maybe ask her out and how she treated him. She felt ashamed and even more guilty when she remembered that he always forgave her and came back and, even now, still cared enough about her to try and help her, console her when she was hurt and hold her when she cried. He'd saved her in the council room and walked her and the others home to make sure they were okay. She began to look at Naruto in a new light now that the Uchiha didn't blind her. Imo was having similar thoughts about her fellow blonde, and Hinata was happy Naruto saved her. She was on an official team, and that maybe her fellow female ninja would act more like ninjas. Deep in the forest of death, a large red humanoid with 4 arms was training in a clearing with 500 other 4-armed red men. Naruto knew he needed to get stronger. He knew the Uchiha wouldn't give up so easily and that the civilian council and that old bandage ninja would get him out of trouble or the lowest sentence possible. Naruto had done it. After 3 days of training, he'd managed to master level 1 and was now on level 2. He had 4 new alien forms he was able to take. He walked out into the center of a large clearing in the forest and decided to try his first new alien. He activated the Omnitrix and cycled through the shadow images until he came to the new 4. He found one that looked interesting and pressed down on the Omnitrix. When the bright green flash went away, he saw his new form's body. His hands were humanoid but clawed and fur covered. He was human in shape and was wearing some black cloth pants and what looked like a black and green poncho over a black sleeveless shirt. He looked into a nearby stream and saw that his head, while looking mostly like a lion, had ram horns. Naruto felt something was odd about his legs. They felt fine, but also kind of tight. He looked down and saw that his pant legs hung lush a half-inch off the ground, covering his feet from view. When he lifted them up a little, he saw that his feet were now hoofed. He walked around for a minute and found he could move very well, but his legs still felt odd. He decided to flex his legs a few times to see if he could loosen them up. He was surprised when he felt and heard his pants open in the back. He looked behind him and saw that his pants had buttons that came up to right under his butt and were now undone. What startled him more was the face that he had 2 extra hoofed legs coming out from where his butt began. The legs were as long as his front ones, and when he set them on the ground and stood, he felt much better. He no longer felt the tightness his legs had been feeling before. He watched as he tried to put the legs back and saw them pull forward and bend to the shape of the upper back of his front legs. He also saw the buttons on his pants seem to snap shut again on their own. Weird, but cool. Naruto said in a growling, deep voice. He thought of what to name his new form and simply settled on Stranger. He made a few hundred shadow clones and proceeded to train in his Stranger form for the rest of the day. Day 5, Naruto mastered the Stranger form and was now going to try the second of his new 4 forms. He selected another shadow image and slammed down. After the flash died down, he saw what he had become. He was tall, there was no doubt about that, but he was very strange. He was human in shape, but much more muscular, and had a strange greenish-yellow colored skin with black spots sprinkled over him. He also noted that he had several strange armors and weapons on him. They were all in black and dark green, but still looked strange. He was wearing a helmet that, when he pushed the side of it near his temple, shifted his vision to infrared, thermal vision, X-ray, and a few others. He looked at each weapon and found them to mostly be knives, blades, and other hunting gear. He noticed an odd backpack-like thing on his shoulders and thought about them. When he did, 2 cylinder-like things popped up and pointed wherever he was looking. Naruto got an idea and thought of the word fire. And they shot 2 blue ball-shaped bolts of energy at a tree and decimated it. He flicked his wrist and 3 wrist blades popped out. He found a way to remove his mask and studied his face in the same nearby stream. It had a huge forehead and 4 mole-like mouth parts surrounded its small mouth. He tried to speak, but it was hard. He could do it, but it was still difficult. Without really knowing why, he reared back and let out a fierce roar to the sky that would make a harden cringe in fright. Naruto, because of all its hunting-style tools and armor, decided to call this form Predator. Day 6, Naruto once again decided to see another of his new 4. When he activated the Omnitrix he saw he was very odd. He had light purple skin and light purple fur. He had 2 large kangaroo-like legs and a long thick tail behind him. He stood up on his hind legs and walked over to the water to survey his new appearance. He looked into the water and saw that his face was very cat-like and that he had 2 antenna-like earpieces that looked like ears. He also had a second spinal cord loop coming from the back of his head to in between his shoulder blades. He had 2 large toes on his feet and 3 digits on each hand that had a ball-like fingertip on each. I wonder what I am now? Naruto asked out loud. Then it started. He could hear whispers and voices. Some seemed familiar, while others were far away. He focused on the familiar voice of the Hokage. Damn paperwork. Why can't it ever end? The Hokage whined. Well, at least I have my little book to keep my sanity. Naruto shook his head. Had he heard that? Did this form have super hearing? Then he thought about it more. No, it seemed more like I was hearing his thoughts. Naruto also noticed his intelligence had gone up like when he was gray matter. Whoever this creature was, it was genetically smart and apparently telepathic. Deciding to experiment a little, Naruto points his left index finger at a nearby rock. He thinks and focuses on the rock and it levitates off the ground. Awesome! Naruto yelled in his deep melodious voice. He then had another thought. Could he concentrated on himself and did the same thing he did to the rock. When he opened his eyes he saw that he was flying. As Naruto went through his usual regiment of training, he found that he could also create balls of dark energy and fire them at will, and even erect a shield of dark blue light and energy around him. He practiced for hours with his shadow clones fighting him and standing still while levitating as many things as he could around himself. On the 7th day, Naruto decided to wait on using the 4th new alien. He didn't want to be tired for their first day of missions. As he sat in a tree, he thought about how each new alien could be used. Strangers would be good at hunting, tracking, and forest fighting. Predator would be good at hunter nin duties and assassination missions, as well as average hunting and hand-to-hand combat. The psychic form, which he had been told by Grey Matter's mental uploads, was called Mutwo, would be great in defense, interrogation, long and short mid-range attacking, and reconnaissance work. The last of the new 4 had an odd-looking shadow image. Naruto was eager to try it out, but decided to wait until he had at least another 2 days of free time before trying to master it. He wouldn't get any new forms until he did though, but he could wait. He stood up and activated the Omnitrix and transformed into Mutwo. Afterwards, he levitated off the ground and shot into the air. He flew towards his apartment when, "Help me!" a mental cry rang out and Naruto Mutwo stopped in midair. He mentally scanned the area and found the source of the mental cries. He flew towards it, using his psychic powers to make everyone unable to notice him. It wasn't Predator's invisibility, but it would do for now. The sight he came upon made his now alien blood boil. Below him, in an alley, were 2 young girls about his age. One had long white hair, the other had long red hair. They were both dressed in strange clothes. But what got Naruto Mutwo's blood boiling was the fact that 2 Chunin were trying to grape them. The 2 Chunin had the 2 girls caught in ninja wire. They were smirking and slowly approaching the 2 tied-up girls. The girls looked like they'd been in a long, tough fight, while the Chunin had probably just found them and tied them up. Just as the 2 Chunin were about to reach the girls. "Stop!" a thunderous, deep voice called out. The 2 Chunin looked up and saw a huge kangaroo catman thing. It was staring down at them with evident hate. It raised its hands, and before the Chunin could even think, they were slammed against the opposite walls of the alley and fell to the ground unconscious. The 2 young women looked up at Naruto and had tears of fear and gratitude in their eyes. "Relax," Naruto said in a calm, soothing voice, "I will not harm you." He then held out his hands and the 2 girls and the fallen Chunin levitated up around him. "Come, we must see the Hokage," Naruto said. He placed the same can't visit field around the 5 of them and flew to the Hokage tower. Once there, Naruto mentally opened the balcony window and flew in over the Hokage's head. Sarutobi was surprised when a large creature flew in, but immediately thought Naruto. Naruto dropped the unconscious Chunin and used his mental powers to undo the ninja wire around the girls. He then sent it over to the Chunin and tied them up with it good and tight. The girls were motionless for the moment. Then, a little raised circle on the creature's right thigh began to glow red, and in a red flash, there Naruto stood. Naruto explained to the Hokage what had happened, and the old man was livid. He immediately called for Anbu to take them to Ibiki and Anko and gave the 2 interrogators full and complete authority to have fun with the 2 would-be rapists. When that was taken care of, the 2 girls flew at Naruto and sobbed thank yous into his shoulders and chest. When they calmed down, the Hokage asked them who they were and why they were in the Leaf Village. The Redeed introduced herself as Gwen, and the white-haired girl said her name was Cece. They were orphans who had special bloodlines and came to the village to try and find a home when they were attacked by a large group of bandits on the road and had just gotten to the village via teleporting before they collapsed, and those Chunin found them, and the Hokage didn't need to hear any more. He apologized for their suffering and told them he'd talk more later about their living in the village. He asked Naruto if he would take them to training ground 44, he didn't want to call it the Forest of Death after what they had been through, and set them up with temporary housing. He'd inform his team that he was helping newcomers to the village settle in and they could start missions without him. Naruto nodded and asked the girls to stand back. They complied and Naruto activated the Omnitrix. He was once more the strange purple creature he called Mutwo, and he levitated the girls up around him before flying off back to the tower. Sarutobi sighed. "That's it, I'm moving him in that forest. I'll ask him about housing plans later." The end. Thank you for watching my video and check out the author of this fanfic.